Hello SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded. You'll find the links to the full playlist in the description. You'll find the recent episodes in the description. And what's happening, we're examining units of weights and measure and how they connect to measuring time. So previous episodes went through these. Essentially, it's a pendulum, how it connects to the ancient world, across the ancient world, through architecture, through known units of weights and measure, and how that comes to measuring time. And that brings us back to the pendulum and 1 second, and how these units, apparently unconnected civilizations, their weights and measure systems bring us brilliantly back to the second, and the units and all the variations and the geometry of it incorporates such important sacred numbers such as the Yugas, New Jerusalem, the Epic of Gilgamesh, of course the architecture of the pyramid stone circles, Greco-Roman temples, Indian temples. Really, it's all the world around, and it can be measured, it can be tested. Thoth, Sheshet, Hermes, etc., gods of weights and measures, gods of architecture, astronomy. Therefore, now just frozen up just in time, but we see 1 second pendulums from these various versions, which are recorded. For instance, the pendulum of 99.4387 centimeters, which almost became the world standard of measurement and the unit of measuring length, measuring second, almost, and at times was the standard. Now it's become a bit messed up. Now, okay, that's frozen, but we have 1 second pendulums, units of measure apparently unconnected, such as the meter, the Egyptian royal cubit, and this is the 3.3 foot pendulum, which was 3 Mohenjo-Daro feet, 3 Sumerian feet, or 3 Saxon feet, which also gives us the canonical cubit. Okay, let's reduce that. So we come back to this particular chart, so you can see all the variations, how they all convert at very important, lovely numbers with measuring time. With measuring time, we can create a pendulum. Measuring length gives us a pendulum with which we can measure time. Of course, all these numbers connect to ancient units of weights and measure. And in the previous episode, so the diameter of this circle would be 6.6 feet, 1/10 of a Gunter's chain, which is 792 inches, 6.6 feet, or 1/100th of a furlong, which is 7,920 inches. That's the unit of measure that they define New Jerusalem in the King James Bible. We know that historically the Gunter's chain, Queen Elizabeth I, we know exactly what that is. These are still the imperial units of measure that have been going. So 66 feet or 792 inches is just 1/10, so 66,792. So 792. Okay, that was in the last episode, but whether it's New Jerusalem, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Menkaure pyramid, the Earth, the Sun by the Ionic units, which is just like the Doric is a unit measuring musical modes, and how again these multiple sets come together. And it just so happens that the Sun average mean diameter 86,400 miles. Historically, that was, again, previous episode I talked about some of the modern variations in the issues regarding that, but we see that 6.6 feet would be 864 poppy seeds on the Saxon scale, which is the same as the Sumerian, same as the Indus scale, 86,400 seconds per day, of course, in the pyramids. How that connects to orbital speeds, meters and cubits coming together, measuring time, because that's the speed, orbital speeds of Saturn or the Moon. We need to measure time, and that just corresponds with the 86,400 seconds per day of the pendulum. Okay, 792 Ionic coming together. That was in the last episode. So how to preserve knowledge. How did the ancestors do this? It's done through weights and measures. It's done through the architecture. Or of course it could be all just a grand symphony of coincidence. However, so now 792, so whether it's 7,920 miles of the Earth, average mean diameter above 99.9% accuracy, same with the Sun and the Moon, but also the preserver of life in the Epic of Gilgamesh, in 120 Royal Babylonian cubits as described in the Epic of Gilgamesh, or Sumerian or Indus scale, but that's 700 792 palm. So we see this connected. Vagunta's chain, this esoteric hermetic period, and I'll go more because there's a lot more really crazy connections in regards to the Great Pyramid, the 1600s and the hermetic alchemy there, how they were really looking into weights and measures and pendulums. But anyway, 792 palms of the preserver of life, or the ark of the flood described in the Epic of Gilgamesh, converts to 66 imperial yards. So 3 feet per yard. Okay, so 792, also 66. So Sun, Earth, Moon, the preserver of life, Epic of Gilgamesh, and how again these legends, but also the architecture, we see the same built in there. So we just put the 792 down there, and okay, what's going on with 66? So we'll put this over to the side. So 66 and 792. Now all these other particular numbers just have extraordinary links as well, but just the 66 and the 792 from the Gunter's chain as described in New Jerusalem. Well, that 1 second pendulum, based on a 3.3 foot long pendulum, creates 1 second. That 30 degrees of arc is 1.7278, blah blah blah. So less than, essentially it's 4/100ths of a millimeter, which is essentially the thinnest human hair difference from 1.728 feet, or the canonical cubit, which John Michel and Robin Heath and others have pointed out. Very interesting unit. Okay, but 1 second, measuring time. With the measurement of length via the pendulum, we can measure time, and the importance of the second. So 24 hours per day, or 1,440 minutes. Well, 720 times 2 is 1,440. And also on the Saxon scale for poppy seeds, 86,400 seconds per day. So just so happens that on the canonical scale, canonical fathom, or is it 2 cubits would be a fathom? No, sorry, 4 cubits would be a fathom. Well, 66 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros at the end would describe the sun. Again, above 99.9% accuracy, and well, the sun's 86,400 miles, 864,000 miles. That's the conversion. 86,400 seconds per day is in the 1 second pendulum, which gives us all these units. So 66, the canonical cubit, and also that nice hint to 864. Okay, the diameter of a moon, again, above 99.9% accurate. 2,160 miles, which has so many other applications, but well, that converts to 66 and 5 zeros, canonical cubits. 66. We already saw 7 Sun, Earth, and Moon, and these other connections. All right, so Sun and the Moon to 66, and for instance, on that scale as well, that would be 72. Well, Thoth, the god of weights and measures, the god of geometry, architecture, astronomy. Just like Chesed, very strongly connected to Heliopolis and the high priest there, the chief astronomer or the chief of the observers, amongst so many other connections to 72. But for instance, Thoth, one every 72nd day for the moon. All right, now we go to the Earth. Well, we showed ionic and ionic with the moon and the sun. All right, so the moon now converts to 66,000 ionic furlong. Okay, furlongs. Okay, all right, and just add a 0, and that would be chain. Okay, but the furlong, New Jerusalem, etc., etc., 66 joins in there. So previously we linked the ionic, and now we've got the canonical. Now previously the Earth didn't convert to ionic, but now it does. Okay. Now I mentioned the long scale, so 1.056 feet is 1 long foot, this ancient unit. And well, on the long scale, 66 and 6 zeros at the 5 zeros, so 6.6 million. But now we have the long foot, the long scale connecting as well. So canonical, the Doric, the ionic, the long through the imperial English measures and all that, and so therefore also on the Saxon scale, However, these are measurements of length. We're measuring the diameter of these bodies. Well, it just so happens that on short tons, again to the best estimate, you're very, very close approximate based on the best available measures. Well, 66 and a whole bunch of zeros is the weight of let's just call it the mass, really, of the Earth. So we have measurement of length, we have measurement of weight, weights and measures, all based on the pendulum, which is a measurement of time, which comes from measurements of length, weights of measuring weight, measuring length, measuring time. Why is that important? Well, now we're going to measure speed, which is using time and distance, or speed or velocity. But if you can work out the time, you can work out the distance, you can get the speed of a particular object. And you might notice at this gauge, so times 1,000 miles, so 66,000 miles. Well, at its slowest point, the Earth orbits the Sun at 66,000 miles per hour. At its faster point, it is 108,000 kilometers an hour. That 30-degree pendulum, 30 degrees equals 108,000 seconds when you measure by the protractor or the compass. So just again, one other example, because it's so much, so 216, 864, 1728, 108, all these numbers embedded in the yugas, in ancient Indian tradition, all the way through, just everywhere and measurable. And so we're now measuring speed of the Earth, we're measuring the weight of the Earth, we're measuring the size of the Earth in the long and the ionic scale, which links us back to 792. How did they preserve the knowledge? Well, again, it's an extraordinary set of coincidence, and just links all of these previous elements and mathematical constants in well, again, the full playlist in the description. I'll put some of the more recent episodes links in there as well. Thoth, Sheshet, Hermes, Nuar, and Fuzi, all of these gods connected to chemistry / alchemy, the gods. Basically, the gods connected to science, the gods of measurement. They carry the measuring rod, or for instance, Nuar and Fuzi carry a compass and a square. The architecture. Now, here's an interesting. So the constellation Hercules. In the knee of Hercules, there is a star called Hercules Lambda. The body of Hercules is the keystone. They call it the keystone, which is another. Ophiuchus just there underneath the serpent, sometimes called the 13th sign, and so many, or Lyra, with obvious connections to the lyre of Hermes, which was gifted from Hermes to Apollo. Apollo in return gave him the wand, the measuring rod, and then later Hermes got the snakes on there. But, well, what do you have here? The rod and the two snakes. These Cerberus, actually, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but again, the olive, well, there's cross connections there, but let's leave that for the moment. The constellations embed so much information in there in themselves. So the solar system itself, so it's going around the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and this is based on the measurements have only been taken for a short time, so they're best available. It's not going in just like the moon and just like these other elliptical nature of things, but they also tend to go up and down. It's not in a straight line. So the solar system is going up and down this plane around the galactic core. The one full movement is 66 million years, and again, the best available puts it at around 792,000 kilometers per hour. We are headed towards Hercules Lambda at the moment, and the speed at which we're going around the core, 792, the time, 66 million. 66 and 792. Isn't that coincidental? Ancient science, ancient architecture, modern science is built on weights and measures, observations that we can measure, we can test. It just is. And, well, whether it's in the old legends, Sumerian kings list, the Yugas, New Jerusalem, etc., it's fruit of a modern system. It's it's there. Have a good one.